with the COVID. And we are live. So, welcome to episode 154 of An American Werewolf in New Jersey. I am the American Werewolf. Tonight, I am part of the IFC MidKnights team. And so once a month, at the last Sunday of every month, one member of the team will select a movie that we will review and discuss in detail. And with us tonight, as always, who's the founder, I believe, of the MidKnights team, we've got Patrick. He's trapped. He's got a cheetah trapped in. Go ahead. I trapped the cheetah. I was reading your
That's right. Yes,
your name. Yes.
I am the co-founder. I have to give credit to credit's due. Me and the Night Watch, we did this together, but we're talking about this movie, and I can't wait to get my teeth into this. Okay. Interesting pick, and I can't wait to see. I can't wait to see how you came about to picking it.
Okay. Well, I trapped the cheetah, and for some reason, there seems to be some connection between you and Mary. Having people trapped in your basement or things trapped in your basement. I don't know what's going on here. But we also have, from a safe distance, because I don't want to get stuck in anybody's basement either, we've got Mary Wilson. And thank you for joining, as always, who's been here long before I have. But I've only had the opportunity to host the channel. This is the second time now. So thanks for checking out the flick, which was my recommendation. And for stopping it.
We had to give him another shot after he gave us Werewolves Within.
Oh, I love that movie.
That's a damn solid movie.
Yeah, that's probably one of my favorites. The IFC one so far.
Yeah, mine too.
I think.
Mine too.
So, okay, I Trapped the Devil. I heard someone say last week on a completely different thread, having absolutely nothing to do with this, that horror is probably the least expensive genre in all of filmmaking. You don't need a lot of money. You don't need Spielberg level money. You don't need Christopher Nolan level money for like Oppenheimer or The Dark Knight. You don't need MCU level money where they're dropping $250 million every film. Two, they're matching that in marketing, in the marketing push. So a movie that has to make $500 million just to break even. You can do decent horror on a really small budget if you choose to. Yep. It depends on what you're aiming at. For me, always, it's the story. Give me a story. And that's what I always say. But there are other types of genre horror that I'm not into, the things that rack up body count, these sorts of things. And they've been successful this past year as well. And then there's the franchises, and I think the franchises are just I think they're actually kind of dying off because we saw that this past year with 10 months in the build up to, the Halloween, so on and so forth. And then a week later it was gone. Go ahead.
I think you're right about the franchise thing. I think people are just putting all their eggs in one basket, and when they come out and they fall flat on their face, it's, like Scream 6. You just get the sense that that's what's going to happen. It's going to fall flat on his face, and Well,
I think what's also going to hurt is now you're seeing these dual releases where they're being released automatically to streaming services. So whether it's being available in some theaters, like in America, Regal Cinemas just closed down 39. Multiplexes. My local multiplex is just about to shut down. It's been there for forever. So we just lost our multiplex. So the availability to be able to sit down in 14 different houses and select a movie, that's being taken away. We've got a couple of small places, small venues, and then that's about all that's left. So a lot of these movies are also just dropping automatically to Netflix. The Halloween, I think, went automatically to Peacock. So you're not necessarily in a position where these movies can make a lot of money because how do you measure something that goes straight into a streaming service, especially when we see now I think that the streaming bubble is about to burst. and like I think well, whatever. It's a long story. We're talking about I Trapped the Devil. Sorry, I didn't mean to get sidetracked. I picked this movie because I saw a story. I saw a minimalist story, and I saw what it was possible to do with very few resources, and simply a voice behind the door, and a movie that simply avoided spectacle. You didn't have loud, earth-shattering screams. You didn't have heads spinning. You didn't have pea soup flying. You just had three actors, basically in a very claustrophobic set, some effective use of lighting, and, whatever was going on in that basement. And I just thought it made a damn good film. Let's go around. Patrick, what did you initially think of the film? And then we'll go to Mary.
I gotta admit, I struggled a little bit with this one, just a little bit. I struggled with it. I did appreciate what I did appreciate was the age of the cast. I appreciated that because it added gravitas to it. You don't want to see a group of teenagers in that setting. Right. So I appreciated that. I would have liked to see just a little bit more, because this movie sort of reminds me, and Mary mentioned it too. It reminds me of the Howling Man from the Twilight Zone, and it had a similar premise. And when the devil actually got out, he was a man, but by the time he reached the front door, you could see that he was the devil himself. And whilst I didn't necessarily need that for this movie, I do think it would have been really cool is when they show him. I'm a little ahead of myself. When they should have showed him when he stepped out, if you would have had cloven feet. That would have been really interesting to me. I think that would have that's all you needed to do is to show that and don't say anything. You don't have to explain anything or anything. You just know what, is he or wasn't he? And then without saying a word.
Okay. Mary, what do you got?
I didn't think it was too bad. I like the tenseness of it. I like, the atmosphere of it, the colors.
Yeah.
The acting's decent. It's just, I don't understand where they were going with, Steve's middle, where there was his daughters. Was that his wife and kid? I was confused just in some parts.
Yeah, there aren't massive exposition dumps in here. It sort of drops you into the end of the story. It just sort of drops you into the end of the story on the last day that all of this has taken place. Like any sort of physical action about, what's happened is sort of, they don't bother to explain it. And I kind of like that, where everything isn't always explained and you're just sort of, left wondering and trying to figure things out. This reminded me a little bit, a very long time ago on a show. We were talking about Dorff in Exorcist 3 and how even, his pacing was in that. I mean, he did the whole thing basically sitting on a bench. And Dorff basically plays the devil in that. And so Dorff seemed to understand that he was playing something that was thousands, if not millions of years old. And so if you were that old, then time, you wouldn't really look at time the same way that the three of us would. And so there's no particular hurry for anything. So coming from that perspective, you really don't have to do very much. You can just poke the Jenga stack just a little bit and watch everybody else unravel. In a way, it reminds me a little bit of Robert Eggers' The Witch, where the witch really doesn't do much in that movie. It's everybody else that falls apart. It's the family that falls apart. And that's essentially what happens here. With just a little poke here and just a little poke there, there's nothing over the top about it. Everything just pans out the way that whoever's down in that basement wants. And you get the impression that they're not really, it's like, okay, I'm trapped. Oh, I'm trapped. Okay. We'll just wait it out and I'll do a couple of things and we'll see how you'll react to that. But you get the impression that the only person that's really sort of enjoying themselves is whoever it is in that basement.
Right.
And that's what I got out of this, that this entire thing was just child's play.
Yeah, he could have walked out any time.
Yeah, he could have walked. Whoever that was down there could have walked out any time. Okay, you're not going to let me out? No problem. We'll do it your way. And, it turns out the way that it turns out. I did have some people, because we had covered this once before on American Werewolf. And I had some friends that had said, well, maybe this, you could have, done a little more. But to me, the minimalist aspect of it really, caught my fancy. So it sort of starts off with an intrusive and sort of pushy family who comes to visit their brother-in-law during Christmas. And I started out like immediately not liking them because one, like the brother just sort of pushes his way through the front door. And, like me, I have no siblings. So I don't know. If you guys have brothers or sisters, let me know. Would that be okay if like your brother or sister just kind of showed up unannounced and just like physically shoved the door open? I'd be like, what?
He can come over anytime, my bro.
Okay. So I think because I had that conversation with the first time we covered it, and I had one guy say, yeah, my brother can do that. And then I had another guy say, well, it would depend on the brother. That kind of.
As long as I got a phone call saying that, hey, I'm coming, fine. That I would say, hey, I'm leaving the back door open for you. I'm leaving the front door open for you. But just to show it cold like that without asking me, no, I wouldn't appreciate that.
No, my brother's got a key, so he can get in anytime he wants.
So they just show up to reconcile with, their estranged family at Christmas. But the way that they go about it sort of, to me, makes them unlikable. I thought that they were intrusive and kind of pushy. And then, Steve, who's the main character, is like, what the hell are you guys doing here? One, why did you just push your way into my house? Because you get the impression they haven't seen each other in a really long time. But they just kind of show up and automatically, like the brother becomes like really aggressive about it. I have just as much right to be here as you. And you're just like, what the hell is that?
Mm-hmm.
So is that his parents' house or his grandparents' house?
You got the impression that it was the family house. Like this brother was living in the family house. And you also get the impression, again, they don't explain it, that he has recently or within the past year or so suffered some kind of tragedy or loss. Like with his wife and child or something along those lines, some sort of automobile accident. Something
Right.
like that. And, he's sort of just, withdrawn into himself. So you could see why they would do that, but not to the extent that they would push themselves in.
Yeah, I agree with you. I didn't like them after that either.
Yeah, and go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, was not a fan of them either. I thought them, bulldogging them their way in like that. No. And even when Karen came over there and say, I did it, had a little present and everything, still doesn't take the onus off the older brother or the other brother, because he's the one that instigated the confrontation, so to speak. And when he just completely disregarded his brother saying, you can't stay here, you got to go. And he just wouldn't listen.
Yeah.
That was wow.
Okay. Here's the first question. Is the brother and the sister-in-law, is their appearance influenced by whoever's in the basement?
Maybe.
I'm just gonna bring people over.
They might be there to take the house and show that he's crazy.
What do you mean?
That Steve has been crazy all this time, that they might be able to inherit the family house, maybe, because they're about ready to start a family.
Well, maybe that's part of it too. I didn't pick up on that necessarily, but do you think that, so when they get there to meet Steve, you can tell that Steve is kind of stressed. Steve's kind of a stressed guy, and he's struggling. He's very anxious. He's clearly preoccupied. He's not up for any kind of company. And, we see him long before he pulls out the gun. But you can tell that this is not the look of somebody that was, in the Christmas spirit, shall we say. This isn't it's a wonderful life here. But
And
I
yet
guess
he had all the Christmas lights on. He had them on, and he had them on all the lights every Christmas.
And I loved it. I thought that this was the only movie I ever saw that made Christmas lights creepy. With the lights blinking on and off when the wife is in the driveway smoking a cigarette, and then all of a sudden all the lights come on.
I thought maybe it was like Stranger Things and they were trying to talk to him through the lights or something.
So that's my question again. Is the devil influencing this visit?
Well, he's probably weak-minded, so he's easy to twist.
Who?
The one with the gun, Steve. He's weakened already with his loss.
Well, he's weakened already with his loss, but what I'm asking is, okay, so Steve has somebody trapped in the basement. He's getting anonymous phone calls, just little love taps of harassment here and there. Well, we know where those things are coming from. You're getting these weird sort of images appearing through the television set, that maybe only Steve is seeing, or that each individual is maybe seeing something else, because you see later in the film that the police officer sees something else. He sees a sort of demented Santa Claus. And, I thought that maybe they were like visions from hell. But I think the devil is using this influence to just sort of influence Steve, to encourage him to open the door and let him out of there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that's not working. Okay, well, and that's what Steve says throughout the whole movie. Somebody's coming.
Yeah.
So is that the brother and the sister-in-law? Patrick, what do you think?
Or
is that a separate thing?
I really didn't get that impression. I didn't get the impression that that they were because it didn't really seem like they really wanted to be there. Karen pushed it a little bit. And as far as the weak one goes, I wouldn't say it was Steve. I would say it was Matt. Because did you notice how much he drank during that movie?
Yeah,
he had problems. He had problems. He had a lot more problems than Steve did.
Well, he just became a part of a criminal conspiracy for kidnapping, so he might deserve a nip or two.
No, he had much more than that. Conditions. He had a lot more than that, and his character looked really comfortable doing it too. And
well, he's
so
a school teacher. School teachers are notorious for that.
Yeah.
I did get the impression that this was part of, because this is essentially led to the door opening. Like, I can't get you to open the door. Okay, I'm going to start bringing people to the house. Maybe incidentally, could be anybody, but we're just going to keep working it, and I'm just going to sit down here and just let this thing play out and let you guys figure it out up there. I'm going to tap the Jenga. I'm going to let the phone ring. I'm going to tap the Jenga stack. I'm going to do some weird thing with your television. Because he was already melting down. He's paranoid and he's, anxious out of his mind. Okay, that's not working. Boom, I'm going to bring your brother and your sister-in-law over. And so that goes from there. And then what is it?
Wouldn't it, just to play devil's advocate, so to speak, no pun intended. Wouldn't it have been more interesting to have the devil, if you really wanted to put a lot of pressure on Steve, he could have just influenced the two without driving up there. He could have influenced the two to, he could have influenced them to make a wellness check and send those two cops out there. He has a gun or we haven't heard from him and we're worried about him. Because when you have a wellness check, the cops actually go inside your house to make sure that you don't have anything that could hurt you.
Well, clearly you're not thinking with the devil's mentality. I mean, why would he do that when he could make the guy who kidnapped him basically murder his whole family?
That's good.
That's the punishment. Like ultimately what happens here is that with, just a few little things here and there, the whole family gets wiped off the face of the earth.
Yeah, that's true.
And so there's a cost for locking whoever's down in that basement, for putting him or her or whatever it is behind that door. That's not a free lunch. Like, there's going to be some payback for that. And whoever's down there is it's a game to them, because what's 3 dead people?
Right.
What difference does it make? So, there's going to be some suffering involved in, trying to play this game, because Steve is all these people are clearly out of their league.
Yeah.
That's what I saw with it. But again, Karen is going through, she goes under his bed, and finds his gun. Just really, really annoying. But I mean, what really got me was when, Steve sort of breaks down and explains, what the hell is going on in the basement. And the mood in that room is just fantastic. I thought that was great. And I think that was something Mary had said. And all they really managed to do was capture it with a little bit of lighting.
Mm-hmm.
There are no special effects. There are no sound effects. There's no CGI.
No.
It's the same 3 people just in a room with some red lighting and this voice that comes behind the door. What did you got?
Usual of the 2019 movies is the small cast for the COVID. Anyhow.
It's good stuff. It's good stuff.
Sometimes it does good things.
What did you guys think of the influence behind the door?
Well, we don't know what he did to Matt. We definitely know that he definitely messed up with Karen. I mean, and the thing that it was interesting was the fact that, Karen and Matt just, for a married couple and been together, thinking about starting a family, they were so disconnected all over the place. I mean, they didn't, they had no idea, we're going to go see my brother and we're going to ride in there like heroes. And yet they didn't have a single clue of what to do on any level. I just thought of myself going like, wow, when they talked among themselves after he said, after they went inside the room and they talked among themselves, you think that Matt would have gave Karen the car key. And then you would have said, as soon as we get, as soon as we go down or separate or anything else like that, you go, and after seeing the man down in the basement, not a clue. They go down there to takes Matt down there. You trust me? Yes. He goes down to the basement. Okay. Well, that's when you probably just leave, that's when you go for help or whatever. And I just thought that was a little bit of a hole there. And I didn't really.
Well, he kept saying, no one's going to believe you. You know what? Tell people no one's going to believe what you say.
You know what? I think if you walked down there and said, my brother-in-law says he has a man trapped in the
hostage, you might want to go check it out.
Yeah, I think the police would actually get off their duff and put their donut to do that. I did never sense that they wouldn't check it out. They would have.
Here's a question though too, and I feel it's a legit question. What do you do? I mean, hopefully none of us have to encounter something like that. But what do you do in that situation? I mean, it's your brother. It's your brother. He's clearly distraught, over this loss in his family. I mean, it seems that it's Matt, tries to cut a couple deep, he tries to talk his way through this, logically. And unfortunately, logic isn't something that works here necessarily. One, because it's a horror movie. I mean, it's not just a kidnapping movie.
Right.
But, he asks Steve, okay, what's your plan? You got somebody down there. You say it's the devil. Okay, so what next?
Yeah, because we never find out how long he's had him down there. We never find that.
We never find any of that out. That's why I said you get dropped into the story on the last night of the story. By the time the movie ends, the sun is just starting to come up, so you don't know how long, you don't know how.
there was snow on the ground and the bullet casing was on top of the snow. So I don't know how long the snow was there. That'll probably tell you how long he was down there.
Oh, right. Well, she picked that up. She picked up that casing.
Yeah, I don't know why they were out front. He must have been shooting out front.
Yeah, or how, how any of this happened. But, his ideas, Matt's ideas, okay, look, maybe we can just let the guy out. You and I have some savings. I think he's really trying to save his brother from going to prison for the rest of his life.
Right.
He's like, look, we
said
can cut.
That he doesn't want to see him go to prison. That's my brother. I wasn't there for him.
Yeah, and he said, look, we have savings. We can cut this other guy a check. Maybe we can just cut him a check for $25K. He doesn't say the number, but you get the impression they're not exactly poor or destitute. And maybe try to smooth this over. But it's not one of those things where logic seems to overlay well because of who they have in the basement. Hey, Eric, what's up? He says this movie was proof that less is more. So good, yeah. And based on the recommendation, Eric ended up buying it on Blu-ray because I think it's available on Shout Factory.
I think we're turning Eric into an IFC fan.
I think he's always been. Eric doesn't, he's not biased against film companies.
What do you mean by that?
What?
What do you mean by that bias? Who knows biased here?
Right. Anyway, I think Matt is trying. I think Matt's like in a no-win situation because one, he's trying to stave off his wife, and I do think his wife sort of bosses him around. But he's also trying to hold an untenable position to save his brother, who, in one respect or another, has actually kidnapped someone and has them down in the basement. Okay, so I come back to it again. I mean, what did you think of the voice behind the door? Because that's really all we get of the devil. That's basically it. It's a voice behind the door. There's none of that thing
I could hear some of it, but I couldn't hear all of it because some of the music was going over what he was saying sometimes. I mean,
really?
Yeah.
Oh.
And I tried it on a couple different TVs too, like Smart Sound or something was on too. The music was going above. I was like, dang it, I can't hear him.
Oh.
I should have put on closed captioning.
Yeah.
I never got the impression that Matt believed it all the way, but Karen sure as hell did. Well, she heard it. She heard it right away. Yeah. She was like, and the thing is, though, they didn't really follow up with this. They really they needed her character to be more strident. Like, before it was like, look, I'm not going to turn my brother in because she wanted to go. She wanted to get out of the house. She wanted to go and everything else. And they should have flipped it where Matt was like, okay, well, I'm going to go. Let's go. And Karen should have been the one going like, no, your brother's right. Your brother's right. But they never really did that. They never went that far.
And once she was going downstairs, she said, don't do it.
Yeah, it goes that far. I mean, when everybody starts getting wiped off the board, by the time she's fully on board, it's too late.
Mm-hmm.
By the time she's fully on board, everybody's dead.
Well, the devil's playing chess. He's
just think about it. He never actually does anything. Whoever's behind that door never actually does a thing. He just lets everybody else completely fall apart.
But we do know he's down there, though, because you can see through the key locks. You can see all sorts of flashing and everything else. We do know that there's somebody out there, back there, and they're not just human. That was the first indication that they really was the devil, was the lights, because it changed color in the lights or whatnot. And then you hear the voice. And then with Karen, is when he called her Karen by name.
Yeah.
And that was like, oh,
yeah.
Okay. So he's legit.
and the more that it goes on, the more intimate he kind of becomes, because at first it starts off with this panic. Let me out, please. I've got to get home to my family, but it's like a modulated voice. It's off. It's like it goes through some kind of filter, and it's. I remember the first time I heard it, I'm like, this is creepy as fuck. It was like completely creepy for me. But then as it goes on, we start to see Steve's idea of what's really happening. Like he attaches it to this like larger idea of everything that's happening in the world. With that crazy connection pattern that he's got in his room.
Yeah, he's saying all the missing people come back.
Yeah.
It sort of reminded me that incident right there. That sort of reminded me of a movie. There was a movie called Meet Joe Black, where he played Death. Brad Pitt played.
I remember that.
I saw part of that.
And when he became human, one of the things that he did was he stopped everybody from dying. You know, all the dying and everything else all stopped. So you hear the news saying that no one was dying, like there was no deaths today or anything else like that.
I didn't get that. Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, so you think that because he had him down in the basement, all these people that had gone missing, were at least that part of that, like 0.1%, because that's what he talks about, like 99.9% of the evil in the world is just like man's evil. Right. And then there's that 0.1%. That's just pure evil.
Sort of like you can almost put that into context of how this country's run. With the top 1% of the population controlling the rest of the 99. That sort of thing. And what it did when he said that, and he was showing the examples. The one thing I just really, by that time you're just sitting there going like, how is he doing this? How is he, because he's not a clerk. He's not a cleric. He's not a priest. He's not, there's nothing, there's not any, there's not like a bunch of people there, praying to God to keep him in there. There's no spell casting or anything else like that.
No.
So you really do wonder, like, how in the hell is he really truly making this happen?
How is he making what happen?
How is he keeping the devil and how did he capture the devil?
That's the whole catch. I don't think he did. I think the devil's here. Hold on a second. We got Eric here, and he said the devil, or maybe it's a demon, is just messing with him. I think it could have escaped at any time. It was just having fun, like a cat playing with a bird before taking it out. And that's the impression that I get this entire time. It's just child's play. They're just playing a little game. He's just humoring them along. Okay, you want to keep me down here? All right, you're going to regret it before it's all over with, but I'll stay down here for however long, because guess what? I'm like millions of years old.
Okay, so how about this then? Okay, so let's put it this way. Okay, so let's say he does that. Let's say he has him down there, and he's able to hold him there or not hold him there. But whatever he's done, he's managed to get the devil not to do anything during the time that he's been locked up. People returning home, people surviving accidents, people not dying of illnesses or whatnot. People are
serial killers.
To me, even serial killers not killing anybody. Let's just say he stopped evil for 3 or 4 days. Let's just put it for the hell of it. Mm-hmm. Matt's life was not in vain. Yes, he took him off the board. But look at all the lives that Steve saved. Look at all the lives that he saved. I mean, what is it? Tactical and strategical. Strategic. And he may have won the battle, but Steve won the war. I mean,
I think the devil wins the war, but Steve didn't win a battle here. He won a battle. I mean, I think absolutely. I like Steve's character. I felt sorry for him.
Me too.
Because he was just in a hopeless battle. This isn't a battle that you can win. Not under those conditions.
No.
This isn't a battle that any of them were going to win. Steve did his best to fight it. It looks like it drove him half insane. And it cost him his life and his entire family's life. But he did fight the battle. I don't know how he originally tapped into this. My impression from watching the movie is that maybe he just sort of organically made this connection, that these things are happening in the world and that there might be a singular driving influence for some of it, because he talks about that. This guy slept with my wife, so I killed him. Bang. This guy cheated me in business. Bang. But then there are these other things that, just happen for the sake of making other people suffer. And that is the pure evil in the world. I like Steve's character. I really, by the end of the movie, I ended up liking all three of these characters, or at least disliking Matt and was it Kelly? Karen?
Karen.
Matt and Karen. I
totally
disliked them less.
I disliked her less, because I disliked her less when she went down there, and I understand why she, why she did, she killed, we'll get ahead of ourselves. Why she killed, right? Why she, act of vengeance. And downstairs, she totally believed it. She was believing it all, she was believing it from the very first time where she heard the word. And here she is down in the basement, that cop comes down there, and she's willing to die just like Steve was, not to let the devil out. I didn't like her the first half of the movie. I never did like Matt. I never did like him.
Really?
But no, I didn't really like him at all. But I did like I did feel sorry for Steve, and I did like Karen.
Okay. Did your feelings change towards any of the characters, Mary, or did they stay the same?
I did feel sorry for Steve too. You felt for what he was going through. You don't know if it was a mental illness or PTSD or whatever he was going through, and it was nice to see family there, but they seemed like they were there for something else too when they showed up. They had ideas.
It's possible.
Because she was sniffing around. She looked like she was looking around through his stuff, and
she was.
Yeah.
She went through his
for
drawers.
Jewelry or money? What are you doing?
I gotta ask a question. Okay, so she went upstairs, right? So she went upstairs. She saw that gun upstairs. She came down. Not once did Steve pass him to go back up, yet he ended up having the gun. How did that happen?
Well, we didn't see him go back up. That doesn't mean it didn't happen.
Maybe when they were taking a nap.
It's possible.
They were sleeping, and he had the gun in his hand.
Because she went upstairs to go get it, and it was gone. And I think that she went up there knowing, she expected it to be there. And that told me that he didn't pass them to go upstairs, and I was just like, okay, so how did he get the gun? And I wish they could explain that a little bit, like, was there another way, another room? Did the devil do it? Did the devil take the gun from upstairs and plant it downstairs?
I don't think it was any. I think it's probably more like what Mary was saying, maybe during, just something that it could be a bad edit. You're not necessarily sure. This isn't a huge blockbustery thing. So, it just could have been, something like that. But I don't think it was. It might be a small hole in there. I didn't even notice. What was I going to say? Well, you also did you get the impression that whoever's behind the door was responsible for Steve's tragedy? Because there's a line where he's talking to Karen one time, and he says, "This is because of what I did to them, isn't it?" There are all these little hints here that, I don't know how Steve necessarily got right to the nexus of things, but that, maybe this was just something that the devil did just to make Steve suffer.
Yeah,
because he shows them footage, like the guy that killed them.
Yeah.
With the bunnies bleeding. I can't stop the bleeding.
Yeah, and you find out it's just a car accident, but is it a car accident that was caused deliberately? So on and so forth. I think at one point Steve even invites Karen to open the door.
Yeah, he said, "Go ahead, do it."
Yeah.
And then you can see whatever you can see, and then I can see whatever it wants to show you.
Yeah, you see the flash. You see the flashes through the locks. That was sort of spooky right there. I thought that was, to me, I was like the whole devil. Well, seeing the different lights behind the door. Then I was like, okay, well, I'm a believer.
I never noticed any flashes behind the door, and I just watched that this afternoon. Really?
Yeah. If you go back,
cool.
go back again. You'll see all sorts of light flashes, like yellow, white, real bright, just like almost like welding, that sort of thing. The light arcing through there. It was effective.
Okay.
And then Matt keeps getting nosebleeds for some reason. Maybe it's all that drinking.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's probably drinking.
It's all the alcohol you're drinking, buddy.
It's definitely taking its toll.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, this is, I don't know. It's kind of unraveling. It's kind of not. You think that maybe Steve is starting to win the argument. And then he goes down there and starts taunting whoever it is behind the door. And I remember when I first saw that, and I'm like, that's a mistake.
Yeah.
Like he goes down there and just starts like, taunting and banging on the door and, this, that, and the other. And I'm like, no, that's not a good idea. Because there is, like we said, Karen's starting to get one over. Matt's on the fence. And then what exactly happens? I mean, he ends up knocking out Karen and chaining her.
Mm-hmm.
And then what happens to Matt? Does he get locked in one of the rooms?
Yeah,
He locks him up in the attic with the
we don't see
room.
him do that, but that's what he did. He put a table up against the door.
Mm-hmm.
But we didn't see him do that. Like he when we because Matt's on his own, and he's upstairs looking at the the patterns again. But we definitely see Steve knock out Karen, and then but that's all we see as far as we know. They're still down in the basement, and then Steve comes down there and finds out that he's trapped.
And he has a picture that he
and
developed too, like the dark figure picture on the wall. He keeps hanging it up and staring at it.
Yeah, I mean, Steve is clearly becoming more and more unraveled by all this, because it's just added pressure. Now on top of doing this, you have to, maintain this semblance. I think, it's probably harder for him to be with with Matt and, Karen than it is to deal with whatever it is he's got going on down there. I mean, what happens after that? Somebody else. Patrick?
Well, go ahead, Mary.
Which part? After he chains her up and get to my part.
At what point does Steve see...
Matt gets out of the basement, or Matt gets out of the attic.
Yeah, gets out of the attic.
And he kicks out.
Right.
And Matt, for some reason, Steve's running around with the gun, screaming.
Yeah, he was having bad visions. And then he comes out of it, and Matt and Karen are like, again, this sort of blows my mind.
No, I think that happened before he chained her up. He's seen that stuff. He's holding the gun in her face.
Right.
That happened before he chained her up. She's still chained up.
Well, afterwards, he's still having the visions, and they're standing there side by side, and he's had like 2-3 different ones, and he tells them to, he had 2 times with the gun. One where he was sitting down, where Matt was sitting down, and told him to get the gun out of his face, and then the second one where he was just visioning really bad, and then he has the gun, and then this is probably Matt's and Karen's finest moment is when they talk him down really gently, really calmly to give the gun.
Yeah.
He puts the gun on his finger, right?
Yeah.
And the thing is that neither one of those two grabbed the gun. And that was like, it's like, obviously the one thing you don't want in that situation is a loaded gun in the house for anybody. Think that you grab that gun and unload that son of a bitch right there.
Yeah, you've seen some weird blindfolded lady, right?
Mm-hmm.
I got the impression that was his wife.
Okay.
And she was lost. She seemed to be lost. I don't know. I don't know that I would have unloaded the gun. I don't know. There's just too many weird things going on in that place, and maybe I would have wanted a loaded gun there for somebody. Hopefully, not to use on my own brother, but
right.
Those were less than normal circumstances in the extreme. But that leads us towards the end where I think Matt just decides he's had enough and he's going to
screw this. I'm going to go downstairs. Yep.
Yeah. And he thinks because he has the gun now that there's nothing really that his brother is going to do. And I think for half a second, Steve is going to kind of let him. And then you can see his face as his face sort of hardens up again. And he goes back down and it turns into a family argument. You always want to do this, and
It's always about you, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. And then the next thing you know, he stabs his own brother.
Mm.
He stabs his own brother. And it's amazing because he had just been talking earlier in the movie about influence. And then he's basically like, I don't know why I just did that. He goes upstairs, and then Karen shoots him.
Yeah.
2 out of 3.
He knew it was coming too.
I think so.
Yeah, he knew it.
I think so.
That was actually a pretty good shot for her. That was a big gun too. That was like a 357 or a 44. That was a big gun, and she was crossway across the room in one shot. Like, yep.
So next, go ahead.
Yeah, like when I thought when Matt went downstairs, the one thing you didn't see or hear is you didn't hear Karen at all. She followed, but she didn't say anything. She didn't sit there and say, like, okay, let's do this, or don't do this because the devil's behind the door. She didn't have any dialogue during that scene, and I think that was a wasted opportunity because she was just walking down. She almost like she was just an outsider. And
I think she was too scared.
I think so too, Mike.
I got the impression she was just frozen down there. She was like, "What the fuck did I just walk into?"
I don't see her siding with her husband. I don't. I see her after she heard that voice for the first time and it called her name. I saw her after that point. I saw her being on Matt's side the rest of the whole damn movie. She should have been. She should have been like, "Yes, I believe what your brother says. I'm going to go with that." But they sort of played it too in the middle-ish. But I think they should have let her been a little bit more decisive in where she stood, because she obviously was scared shitless.
Yeah, I mean, on the other hand, I mean, this all takes place in the course of one evening. It probably takes place over the course of a few hours.
Mm-hmm.
So over 6 or 7 hours. So it's not really as long as you might think. I mean, it's not like they were locked in the house for a couple of weeks. I mean, this takes place over the course of one evening. Yeah. So you walk into a house, with your husband to visit your estranged brother-in-law, all the way to admitting that the devil is really locked in the basement. I mean, I see what you're saying, but I don't know.
And then when she goes back downstairs after killing Steve, she goes downstairs and there's the devil still talking to her, saying, he's not all the way gone. We can save him. And she still doesn't do it. She still says, "Yeah, I'm good with that."
Yeah, he's like, "God, I almost got you though, didn't I?"
Yeah.
Oh,
that was
fuck.
a good part,
Yeah, that was great the way and then he just starts, because by this time there's no point in trying to hide it anymore, like who he is down there.
Mm-hmm.
So he just starts talking freely. It's just like,
Mm-hmm.
You have all this useless information, but the only thing you can ever really guarantee is that you'll never fully understand why. Oh shit, I almost got you that time. All right, well, shit,
Yeah, he had a sense of humor.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just a game. And then the police show up, and for me, it was like looking when they go through the house. It was almost like looking through a different pair of eyes than we had seen it before.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Somehow the whole place just seemed darker.
And a lot more enclosed, a lot more claustrophobic.
Yeah, a lot more dirty.
Dirty.
A lot more cluttered. It just looked bad. I mean, and plus Steve is splayed with his brains all over the place. It's
the plants.
What's this?
That'll feed his plants.
Yeah, it's got natural fertilizer now.
Yeah.
So what happens from there? You guys take it from there. What happens after the police show up?
The scenes of the visions. It sort of remind me of another movie I saw with that sort of same thing where he turned on the TV then the TV started going on. He started seeing visions like that, like his loved ones. It sort of reminded me in a small way of frailty, like when they put or the Sixth Sense, where they put the hand out and as soon as they touch it, they see all these different visions.
Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Yeah, Obi-Wan Kenobi. Like when he turned around, he saw I looked like to be his grandfather. Is dressed up as Santa for the cop. That's why the cop was just sitting there. He's just looking at that. It's like, what is that? And then of course, now he's on the high alert now too because he's thinking that is so weird, that's so bizarre. And he goes downstairs and there's Karen down there, and she's just sitting there holding her dead husband or dying husband at the time, and she doesn't say anything. Just in fact, if I'm not mistaken, I don't think she says anything at all.
No, she just
either one of those two cops. After she gets shot, after the first cop shoots her, she's dying. When the second cop comes down, all she does is just sit there and just shake her head. Like,
I didn't realize she got shot.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yes,
Like,
they both shot each other. Yeah, so I mean, she's on her way out by the time the second officer comes down.
Yeah, and then
go ahead.
Yeah, when she came down there, I mean, she, you could, she just was shaking her head. It's like, real slow, don't do it. And you felt like if she could lift it up, she would have shot him too to stop it.
Yeah, because it comes back to what Steve said. No one's going to believe them.
Right.
Right.
If you come out, she essentially ends up in Steve's position. She's defending the door now. And you tell the cops, don't open that door. The devil's back there. They're just going to be like, really, lady? Okay, it's off to Bellevue for you.
Right.
So that's all she can do. And she ends up giving up her life trying to defend the door.
Right.
And then he opens it anyway.
Yeah, he opens it anyway. Yeah, he gets talked to. Let me get out. I want to go back to my family. And that's what I mean. That's what I mean. Where he turned, he turned away. He opened the door, and his back was looking at. He was looking at Karen and his partner and Matt, and then we see the devil come out, and he comes out in bright shiny shoes, and to me, I just feel like that was missed opportunity. All you needed to do was just show the clothes. I mean, it would have been like, oh shit,
I think it's one of those. It's posing as one of those missing girls from that picture upstairs. That's why it used to be a man, but now it's the little girl on the missing paper.
But imagine if he would have came out looking, with the cloven hooves, right? And then we see him go out as a little girl, without saying a word. We absolutely positively know that's what that is,
That's why he was calling him a seed. He was calling it a seed because it can turn into anything.
Mm-hmm.
Let me ask you guys a question. When the door opens and you hear that sigh come out, like finally, I had a friend who said if the movie had just ended right there and you never saw anything, it would have been better.
Okay too. Yeah.
Yeah, that would have been. What do you think, Patrick? Would that have been okay?
I'm a real. I understand. No, I would have been.
You're a spectacle guy.
Yeah, I want to see, not necessarily as a spectacle. Like I said, I mean, all I needed to see from this movie, as far as whether it was the devil or not, was just coming out with hoofs. That would have been it. That's all I would have needed to see. That split second, like, okay, yeah. But not really showing. I mean, yeah, and they did show it toward the, by showing the little girl walking out of the house. Yes, we all knew right then and there that's the devil, and that's shapeshifter and all that other stuff.
What's up, Echo?
Hey, Echo. I just would have liked to just seen. I just would have liked to seen just a little bit more, because there's another movie that IFC Midnight put out called Pie Wacket. And it's a fantastic movie, acting wise, but they killed it. They absolutely killed it by not showing the creature at all.
Oh yeah, I remember that. Yeah, I kind of liked it. And, yeah, it was like a PG-13
I did too.
Type.
I liked the movie. It was a great cast, Laurie Holden, and then they showed the creature for a split second on a far shot. They panned the shot back, and all you see is just this little. That's it. The whole movie. And it was just like, wow, how could you fuck it up so bad? I mean, let us at least see it. Yeah, at least let us see it.
Well, that's. Did you like the Blair Witch Project? Because a lot of people, we were laughing about this the other day. They didn't like it because it said there was no witch in it.
But there was a witch. There was a witch. There was when he got put in the corner.
Yeah, did you
When he
see
got
it?
put in the corner, you can see the shadow behind him.
I never noticed all that, but I mean, I didn't. I say that in reference to this. One, if the door had just opened, the sigh had occurred, and then the movie, and that was fine. That would have been fine. Two, if you hadn't seen what walked past the officer, but then you saw the legs go up, and then it would have ended, that would have been fine. For the way that.
I'm sorry.
No,
Go ahead.
The way it ended, the way that it did end, is fine with me. I wouldn't have wanted hooves because it didn't keep up. It would have been inconsistent with what the whole movie had been. It just would have been gratuitous. And I liked that it kept it just so spare that you didn't need that sort of that. But that's just me.
Yeah, the only reason I would have said you wanted to see something is because you wanted to make those 3 lives count for something, right? You wanted to make what they did and how they died. They had to count for something, just to have the sigh come out and then end the movie without really knowing one way or the other. Those 3 lives died for absolutely zero, and I don't think they did. I don't think they did. I think they died.
You're the only person I've heard who's made that connection between Steve stopping those people for as long as it did. Whether it was a night or a couple of days or, however long he's had, whatever that is down there. You're the only person that made that connection. I think that's a really good point. I had not considered that. So he did. And like I said, or like we said, he lost the war because, he's not in a position to win the war. But he did win a battle.
Yeah.
So
and how many of us
the war goes on. The war is eternal here. The war is billions of years old. So Steve's not going to be winning the war, but you got to give him credit where credit's due. He got a few shots in on the way down.
Sure,
it's okay. We'll fight evil.
That's right.
Indeed, yes, that's it. So I mean, this was made on a Jesus. The budget on this was probably tiny. I'm looking on IMDb here right now. Hold on a second.
Yes, 60,000.
60,000?
Really?
That much?
Gotta have a lot of red light bulbs.
60,000's a lot.
2 award nominations. Best Ensemble Cast as Method Fest and Festival Directors Award. Hold on. I don't know if IMDb does this. Storyline, did you know? The font used on the poster. Okay, there are 2 padlocks and a sliding lock on the key to pay attention to this, Mary. The padlocks are locked, so you need keys. When they go to open it, it happens off screen, and you hear 3 turning lock sounds without using keys for the padlocks.
Yeah, I heard that.
And then the next time you see the door when it's opening, the padlocks disappear, as did the metal parts that are supposed to be fastened to the doors. Now, here's one for you, Patrick. I trapped a huge amount of anticipation for nothing. All right, box office. The budget was $1 million estimated.
Oh,
wow.
$1 million.
That's way over. There's no way they spent $1 million on that movie. There's no way.
I'll tell you in a second. There's a great website for all these things called The Numbers. It'll tell you how much movies.
Yeah, there's just no way they spent $1 million on that. I was actually thinking 60 or 60 seemed a little high, considering they only had one location. They didn't go anywhere.
Well, this never got there are no financials. This never got a theatrical release.
No, a lot of maybe it might have got released over at IFC in New York. They have 4 theaters there, but I didn't. Yeah, I think because there's no box office on the Wikipedia page either.
Because if this got released in 2019, or if this got made in 2019, then it got released in 2020. And how many of those movies do we know that just got wiped off the board because of COVID?
Well, actually, IFC did really well during the COVID. They that's when they released The Wretched, and they released Relic, and Relic won the.
I like The Wretched.
The Wretched was wretched. It was no.
I like The Critter. The creature.
Yeah, I
No.
think it was. I think the Wretched was. The Wretched had won the box office 6 weeks in a row.
Where?
When it was released, it took. It's the first movie. I think they said since
The Wretched?
Yeah, 6 weeks in a
Oof.
row.
Oh,
Number
not
one.
nationwide.
That was a good movie.
No.
Oh my gosh.
Oh. Now I'm going to start drinking like Matt here. That's going to have to do every time you. I'm going to have a bottle here.
Oh my gosh, that's terrible. I thought the Wretched was pretty cool, and
Ooh,
and Relic, and Relic was really good too.
I was
Relic was
checking
so
out
rough.
some of the movies. Because I know my pick will be coming up and
yes.
some point. I kind of like the movie The Harvest. That one looked pretty
Elizabeth
decent.
Harvest. Elizabeth Harvest.
Or it's called The Harvest.
Oh, The Harvest. Okay. Because there's one called Elizabeth Harvest that's really interesting
Yeah,
too.
I have that one. I saw parts. Yeah, I haven't finished it yet.
Mary's the perfect IFC Midnight. She is. She's got a lot of these IFC movies stacked away, and now I'm looking over and seeing Eric over there getting more and more of them. I'm going like, yeah.
Somebody just came to my house and says, "You have a lot of movies." I said, yes, I do.
What was the one that we picked? What was the one with the one that was in Australia?
That was a Nightingale.
Oh, gee, that was a damn fine movie, but it was just brutal to watch.
Yeah,
I don't own that one. That's what would happen.
I remember. Yeah, you were like, I'm not going through with this. Yeah, I don't blame you. I understand.
Yeah,
a little rougher for me. I was like, no, thank you.
Well, last week I covered Martyrs on the Midnight.
Yeah, I heard that one's a little tough too.
That's rough.
Torture porn.
But no,
Hey, Cal.
no, not torture porn. I believe me, I was waiting for that, but there's a point to what they're doing. I mean, it's it's hard, but it's there. It's sort of like the Human Centipede. It's like it's hard, but there's a story there.
I'm not. Yeah, that's. I don't know what niche that fits, but whatever it is, like just by default,
I don't
my skin starts to crawl, and I'm like, yeah, that's not.
Yeah, I haven't seen it yet. My son says we gotta watch it.
It's a good movie, but it's something that I don't necessarily want to watch
it once. I hear.
Yeah, I don't understand that.
Yeah,
I don't understand that.
But
so
here, yes, I would like to get a copy of that.
Yeah, I mean, I think Eric, they do have them on Shout Factory. Maybe you can get your copy at the library, get them to sell it to you for whatever they sell for. Cal says, "Hey, what's happening?" Cal says, "Hi to me and Mary." He says, "So we got werewolf and cheetah. So the question is, dog or cats? Who wins?" Oh God! Don't start that conversation.
I think a werewolf will win because werewolf is a supernatural being. But
I don't know. Cheetahs are faster.
Yeah, the cheetahs are faster. So
plus I've got COVID right now, so I don't feel like running anyway. So
I have a dog. I used to have a cat for 19 and a half years.
Oh God!
Yeah, he was an ancient cat.
But jeez,
he thought he was a dog. So he was around dogs so much. He wanted to go walking around outside with you and then come back in. Yeah, and he loved donuts and coffee.
That's all. Really?
He loved Dunkin' Donuts and a glazed donut. He insisted that you get him at least a glazed donut or one of the donut holes.
Oh, I'd love to see that.
And that would eat the whole thing too. And coffee, you have to stick your finger in there and give him some hot coffee with creamer and sugar.
Oh my God!
Black coffee.
That's so epic. Ben was not here tonight, but he was here in spirit, and he did share what we're going to be covering next month, and that is the remake of Maniac.
Yikes!
Oh, jeez. Is that Tobey Maguire?
No, this is Frodo.
No.
This is Frodo.
Elijah Wood.
Elijah Wood. This is supposed to be way better than the original. This is supposed to
can't be much worse.
Oh. Everybody I've ever seen watch that movie has absolutely loved it. I have never heard anybody say anything bad about it.
The actor?
Elijah Wood. Elijah Wood does a lot of good horror films. He is not afraid to get.
He's in the Good Son. He's in the Good Son.
Yeah,
no, that was Oh, that's right. Yeah,
Yeah.
he was very young then. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
He's done Maniac. Of course, he did a movie that Mike loved a lot. Mike and Eric liked a lot called Sin City. He was awesome in that.
The Faculty, I think.
The Faculty, yep, he was in that.
I like that one.
Cooties, that was a lot of fun.
I don't think I watched that one. I have to check that one out.
Yeah, he was creepy as hell in Sin City, though. Man, I didn't even. Oh man, I was like, you had to look at him in a whole different light after that role. It's like, damn, Frodo's got nards.
That remake is disturbing. Never seen the original, but it's okay. Faculty, Cooties, and Daddy's Home 2. Okay, yeah, these don't exactly sound like. Okay, yeah, I think I have some impression of what I'm going to be getting into there.
Oh, that's right. He did do that. Daddy's Home. I was gonna say he did Horns, but that was Daniel Radcliffe did Horns.
What day is the?
Oh yeah, that was weird. I didn't like that. Yeah.
What day is Ben's movie?
Ben's movie will be February 26th.
Yeah.
February 26th. The Cadaver Club.
Okie dokie.
All right, so hold on one second here as I get this down here. All right. So now we come to the part where we rate the movie. And so for here, I have a scale that runs from 0 to 5. So it goes 0, 0.5, 1, 1.5, all the way to 5. So say 0, for example, is I would rather pick the scabs off a hobo than watch this movie again. All the way to 5, which is, this is cinema. This is why I watch films. Where would you put I Trapped the Devil? Patrick, you're up.
I would actually give this a 2.5. I put it right down the middle. There's elements I did like about it. There's some I didn't, but I thought it was a solid effort. I thought it was a solid effort. Too bad he's not making anything else. I'd like to see him get off his stuff and do another one. But I've been waiting for Liam Gavin for 6 years. So we just have to wait. When you get a really good director, with promise, you really like to see them get off their snide and come back and do anything. But sometimes it's not that easy.
Yeah, I hear you. And I don't know what's I don't know what's next on the horizon. He doesn't seem to advertise much.
I probably gave it about a 3 because I like the ending a little better the second time I watched it.
Okay. I'm gonna, and usually I'm very stingy with praise, but I really like this movie. I'm gonna give it a 3.5. I think, like Eric said, it's less is more. There are some holes in it. There are some holes. There are some things there are some things that could have been better. But overall, with what they were working with, I've seen movies that probably had much bigger budgets that were far shittier.
Yeah.
It had a good story. It had no-name actors, which I always like because then you don't know what to expect. Like if there's a name actor in there, then okay, that person's going to be the star. Right. And, there was none of that. So everybody came out on, equal ground and you didn't know which way it was going. It was spare. It was less than 85 minutes.
So it was quick. My son was like, wow, that was really fast.
Yeah, 82 minutes. It's like, damn, that's real fast.
Yeah, you see some movies, they go 100 minutes, 110, and you're just like, you could have cut 20 minutes out of this.
But you know what? I didn't feel that way. I felt like you could have added another 10 minutes to this movie.
It could have dealt with at least another 5 just to fill in some of the holes. That would have been better. But I mean, if I were to take an example and I'm, going in a completely, like if I were to look at Gordon Green's 2018 Halloween, my review of that said that they probably could have cut a good 15, 20 minutes out of that and made a more streamlined movie. This was very streamlined, maybe even a little too much, like you guys are saying. But they did a great job. Creeped me out with just a voice behind the door.
Mm-hmm.
No flames, no pitchforks, no pea soup flying, this, that, or the other. And yeah, did a really convincing job. So I give it 3.5. I hope this guy gets back behind the camera soon. I'd like to see him do something else.
Yeah.
If we get him a big budget and a good story, as always, a good story. And I think this was a good story.
IFC is really good in that. I have to sit there. This is one of the things I have to sit there and praise them for, is that they do. There's a lot of first-time directors whose movies are IFC released movies.
Yeah,
It's
that's
really
nice.
it's one of the best things I like about the about them is they do that. They do look for first-time directors, and I really, I think of all the movies that I've liked, and they've all come from first-time directors. And I think it's exciting because then you get fresh faces. You don't get the same old, and then you get excited for it, and then you get a chance to talk about it. Like I know for this for Josh Lobo, like I know I will hear. Well, obviously I'm hearing it again. You were impressed with him enough to come back and do his movie again,
Yeah.
and so I know that he made a good impression on you. So I do give that for IFC. They are really strong as far as giving first time directors a true crack at it.
Well, here's the thing too. I mean, nobody talks about this movie.
No,
Like this, just like you never even hear about it. Every once in a while in my Twitter feed, someone I don't interact with at all and have never heard of will just randomly pop up in my Twitter feed, through the algorithm, and someone will mention this. But I have like 400 people that I probably follow on Twitter, all of them, horror fans or content creators or whatever. Nope, never hear it. So,
I've heard of it, but then again, I heard all the ISC movies, so I'm the really rare exception. But I understand and respect what you say, and it's really fun too. And you got to admit, you got to like this. Is like when you come back there and you throw on a movie like this. This is the best part about this show is we're talking about movies that nobody talks about. Nobody talks about these movies.
Maybe they'll go out and they'll rent it or watch it or.
Well,
if you can get one person to do it.
Yep, we definitely know Eric is doing it.
Yeah, I got Eric to buy it. Eric actually went out on limb just on my recommendation and bought it, and he sent me a text message and he's like, "You're still batting 1,000 for recommendations." So if you at this level, if we get a couple people, to get turned on to a decent movie, you get to see.
No matter what our numbers are, our numbers don't count. It's their own opinion. They can go check it out and see what you think.
And you get an alternate opinion on what actually constitutes a good movie.
Mm-hmm. I love seeing what you guys pick. I gotta tell you, that's the second best part about the movie itself is sitting there watching what you guys are gonna pick. I'm always surprised.
Yeah, it's like pulling a rabbit out of a hat,
Yep.
You never know what
I'm
it's gonna
interested
be.
in The Harvest. That one looked pretty cool on the trailer.
Yeah.
I like that.
All right. Let's see. Patrick, plug something.
Plug something. Okay. I will be on Tuesday. My guest had to do a business meeting, but he has said that he's going to send me somebody else in instead. I have no idea who it's going to be. So you'll be surprised as much as I am. And then on the 1st of February, I have 2 shows.
My cousin Vinny over here. Yeah, all right.
Yeah. I got 2 shows on Wednesday. I got Lisa Loves will be on here talking horror with us, and then on Wednesday night we have our friend tarot card reader Anna Thiessen will be with us, and that'll be at 8:00. Lisa Loves will be at 2 p.m. Eastern time, and Anna will be at our regular time at 8 p.m.
Are you getting a reading?
No, I will. She can read people in the chat, but I will not be getting a reading.
Probably for the best. There's such a thing.
Mm-hmm.
Mary, what you got? What's coming up?
Nothing. Oh.
You putting your feet up here? All right, fine. Don't do it.
Good here.
All right. For
just
me,
relaxing and trying to start to get some more energy and.
That's right.
Working out more and.
Good.
Getting back in the swing of moving around more instead of just
Go
sitting
Mary
around.
That's it.
It feels good moving.
Yeah, I mean, we're almost into February, so I mean, hopefully, what 6 more weeks of winter, or maybe an early spring. An early spring would be nice.
Yes, it
An
would.
early spring would be good because I'm kind of done with this cold weather already.
And
we
it's
haven't
been cold
even.
down here in Florida. It's been probably in the 40s, 30s. It's turned a lot of my plants black.
Oops.
You can only cover so much with sheets.
Yeah, we're here in the 40s now, but at night sometimes it gets into the 20s, that sort of thing. And heat is expensive nowadays, so it's expensive to heat your home.
My thin Florida blood couldn't handle that.
Yeah. Conversely, the spring and fall, extremely beautiful. Summers are nice too. But winter does get a little chilly. We haven't even had. I mean, we had no snow, anything like that. So
that's good. Maybe
we'll get a little bit. I'd like it at least once for winter. It's not winter until.
You can come have some of mine. I got like 5 inches out, 5 or 6 inches sitting outside right now.
Do you really? Okay.
Yeah. No, they said it was between 5 and 8. We always cut it in half, but they got it right this time. Yeah, we got popped pretty good.
Okay. All right.
I don't.
All right. So for me, I'll be back on tonight. Actually, hopefully my voice will hold up. At 10 o'clock with the Agoraphobe. We are covering the HBO series The Last of Us.
I love
their
that
new
show.
Series. Yeah, and immediately after every episode, Gore and I will be in the live stream on this channel reviewing
tonight,
the latest
right?
episode.
Episode
9
3?
o'clock. Yeah, it drops at 9 Eastern time. So approximately 10 o'clock, Gore and I are in the stream talking about the latest episode. So that's good. I'm looking forward to the episode tonight. Yeah, so do I. I thought that
I
the
don't
zombie
watch the show or played the game or anything, so I have no idea what people will be upset about. I just want to watch the show.
Yeah, and I was just saying earlier when we had done Dawn of the Dead that I thought that the zombie apocalypse was kind of played out. But then a couple of weeks later, the show comes out, and it's really good. It's really good. I enjoy it a lot.
Yeah, my son told me about those ants with the fungus in it.
Oh, it's gross.
Years ago, he was showing me. He's like, "Look at this. This is like a zombie." And now here's a show about it. It's crazy.
They're just foul looking. Yeah. And then
There's
tomorrow, exactly. And then tomorrow at 1 p.m., I'll be live with Sydney from Cinema Cities, and we'll be covering Goran Stilevsky's "You Won't Be Alone," which we were supposed to do last week, but we had to cancel, so we're kicking the can down to this month to tomorrow. And then on Wednesday, I'll be here with the regular cast and crew as we cover an all-time favorite of all of ours, Matt Reeves' Cloverfield.
I thought you did that last Wednesday.
No. Last Wednesday was the 2-year hangout.
That's right.
With the movie stream. Cloverfield?
Yeah.
I haven't watched it. It makes me kind of, it makes me sick to my stomach.
Oh, because the camera. Yeah, because the camera.
Like found footage. Yeah. I was saying earlier, though, that, I mean, when you think about how people are just like practically, they have their cameras grafted onto them now at this point. Like found footage was about 25 years ahead of its time. Like now everybody films everything. Like back then, a lot of people said this genre makes no sense. What do you mean found footage? This sort of thing. Now you couldn't imagine, people not taking a photo of everything or, wanting to video record everything. So yeah, it was about 2 decades ahead of its time. So we're going to be tackling Cloverfield. That's a favorite of mine. I don't know if you could tell, but my voice is starting to fade. So
I hear it.
Okay,
I
with
hope you start feeling better.
I feel much better than I did yesterday, and I'll be back on in 100% before too long. But
get you some hot tea or something, or
something like that. I could
probably
use.
Let me help you save what's left of your voice, and I'm going to go ahead and I'll pull the chute. Sometimes you need help. But yeah, go and get some tea and get some, rest your voice up for 10 o'clock. Thank you again, Mike, for a great movie, awesome pick. I really appreciate you, man. You deliver. You and Mary, man, you guys come up with some really cool shit.
Never seen it before, so you can't say you've seen this. Well, you can't.
Yeah, I have to find my copy to buy. I have to wait. I had to rent this. I had to rent this from from three towns over. They had to ship it over to my library so I could rent it. So
Wow.
yeah, well, hey, dedication.
You got it. At least you got it this time.
Yeah, yeah. So I'll hope for a used copy to come in. Don't see too many IFCs coming in anymore lately. Used to see them quite a bit, but I don't see them anymore. So
They're like
no.
$14.99 a pop.
Well, I get mine for a dime a pop, so I'm waiting.
Oh,
That's why
you're so lucky.
that's why I wait. Yeah, let me get out of here. Thank you again, you guys,
Thank you, Mike.
I will
Take it
I will
back.
I will stop by tomorrow at 1 o'clock and see you, sir.
We'll be there.
Yeah, I'll come by and come out and hang out in your stream.
Sounds good.
All right, Mary.
Have a good one, everybody. Bye, Mary.
Bye. Hope you feel better.
Thank you. I will.